Recently, I've developed a theory, and I don't think I've seen anyone talking about it, so I'm curious if I can sway those of you watching this video. And that theory is this: the most important season of anime to create long-lasting popularity for a series is the second one. I have several examples on both ends of the spectrum to touch on, as well as some data to back this up. Here are some examples of sophomore slumps. One of the biggest breakout anime of the last few years was To Your Eternity, a beautifully written story on humanity, primarily centering around loss and growth. It was revered as one of the best its year had to offer, and rightfully so. In 2022, it received a season 2, and to this day, I've never heard anyone say a word about it. I know I thought there was a clear drop-off, but I had to look it up to see that it was universally seen as a clear step down from season 1. And while it's getting a season 3, no one is talking about it anymore. Check out this Google Trends chart. The pattern is clear. Spy X Family was a worldwide phenomenon when season 1 came out. It's still remarkably popular, but you didn't hear nearly as much about it during season 2, probably because in season 2 the shtick has gotten a little bit stale. Now, this has a long way to go. It has a movie coming out soon, and it's still very popular, but it's fallen from the peak it had during season 1. If we check Google Trends again, and if we switch over to YouTube searches, it's basically tanked as time has gone on. Tokyo Revengers was another one that seemed like it had everyone talking when season 1 came out. It received live-action adaptations. Mikey was the coolest character around, and it ended on an epic cliffhanger. Season 2 of Tokyo Revengers was still good, but the hype? It's so dead that I didn't even know that season 3 already happened, and judging by the numbers, neither did you. This is confirmed again by Google Trends, both based on web searches and YouTube searches. Even Attack on Titan had this happen to an extent. Now, to be fair, there was a big gap between season 1 and season 2, and that probably plays a role, but the fact that every season but that one gets a lot of talk is kind of damning. This one isn't quite as clear tracking data, but reputation-wise, it is, and the hype definitely lulled. Shield Hero Season 2 is so bad that no one watches or talks about it anymore. The gap between One Punch Man Season 1 and 2, along with the arrival of many other new anime, has made that far less culturally relevant than it used to be. Jobless Reincarnation is another one that feels far less important than it did a few years ago. Same thing for Ranking of Kings Season 2. We don't even need to touch on The Promised Neverland because that one speaks for itself. All of these shows are widely considered to have had inferior second seasons, and all of them, in one way or another, saw their popularity fall. Now, you could say it's obvious to want a show not to suck after a good start. So why am I making a video about it? Well, it's not that simple. A lot of the seasons I mentioned don't suck. Spy X Family and Revengers were good. To Your Eternity Season 2 still has an average over an 8 on my anime list. Attack on Titan Season 2 was awesome. These seasons may have dipped in quality compared to prior seasons, but the drop in popularity vastly outweighed the drop in quality. I'll explain why I think this matters soon. First, let's talk about the ones that got more popular. My Hero Academia Season 2 is often wrongly called the peak of the show, but it is undeniable that this is when its popularity exploded and took off to new heights. Since then, it has gone to greater and greater heights, before settling where it is now. But its baseline is much higher than it was back in Season 1, even with what are considered generally weaker seasons in 3, 4, and 5. That excellent Season 2 ensured lasting popularity for the series as a whole. Let's talk about the biggest phenomenon of the last year, Jujutsu Kaisen. There is no denying that Season 2 was much bigger than Season 1. The Hidden Inventory and Shibuya Incident arcs have been the two best the show has had, and the massive spikes in the charts agree. And while I've heard mixed things about the series going forward, it's now reached a level where even if the series falls off down the line, it's too big to fail. And I don't think you could say that after Season 1. This isn't a perfect example, but Demon Slayer's another one. Not so much Season 2, though that was far bigger than Season 1, but Mugen Train being awesome and a box office machine propelled Demon Slayer to new heights that it had yet to see before. Sure, Demon Slayer was huge from the start, but the increased quality directly led to increased popularity, and now it's routinely one of the biggest anime every year, with no signs of falling off in sight. Are these perfect examples? Of course not. Google Trends isn't concrete proof of anything. My Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Demon Slayer do fit the theory, but they were also popular to begin with. Then again, so was Spy X Family and Attack on Titan. Revengers had its moment in the sun. All the series I listed in the risers had better season 2s than season 1s to varying degrees, and all of them saw their popularity skyrocket in a way that doesn't necessarily match up with the increase in quality. Now, whether that is correlation or causation, I don't know, but I find it interesting, and I'd like to get a larger sample size going forward, because admittedly, this is a small sample. And it's worth considering that if you have a bad season 1, you may not get a season 2, so it's hard to say season 2 is the most important season overall, but for lasting popularity, I think it's worth consideration. Here's why. People today are fickle. They have short attention spans and can move on from something quickly if it doesn't keep their interest. Just take a look at my YouTube analytics. There are also more quality options to watch than ever before. Anime has never been bigger than it is today. My opinion is that having one season of a show, no matter how good it is, doesn't build enough trust with the general audience to indefinitely last. If you can deliver a superior season 2, even if only slightly, for the majority of people, that's enough to earn that long-lasting trust. There's also a psychological element, like me watching Rent a Girlfriend. Once you've put in enough time, you want to see things through. That's human nature, even if you don't necessarily like what you're watching at that point. I'm curious to see how shows like Oshi no Ko, Solo Leveling, and Frieren Beyond Journey's End handle their next seasons. It's undeniable they are 3 of the biggest anime that have come out in the last year or so, but I wouldn't at all be surprised if one or multiple fall off with a disappointing season, or if another anime, like say Undead Unluck, takes off with a bigger season 2. What do you think of the theory? What else fits? What are some exceptions to this rule? Let me know below.